Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is David Duford, owner and operator of Buy Life Insurance for Burial, where I help people like you get quality life insurance for final expenses and beyond. The purpose of today's video and the topic we're discussing is a review of the options and details of how a $75,000 whole life insurance plan works. I would imagine you're here today because you're shopping around to see what your options are for $75,000 in whole life insurance coverage. And you want to see what's out there, how they work, and really what the best practices are for getting this kind of coverage. You get $75,000 in whole life insurance. If this describes you, then you'll definitely want to stick around because I'm going to take you through all of the things you need to consider before making a purchase decision on $75,000 in whole life insurance. So let's get started. So just a quick overview about what to expect today. My name is David Duford. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself and my company, Buy Life Insurance for Burial. Then we're going to talk about what a whole life insurance policy is, just in case we make sure we run the basics and the fundamentals by you so you know exactly what you're looking at. And then we're going to talk about what a $75,000 whole life insurance plan policy will do, what it could cover. We're going to talk about whether or not you should get an exam when trying to qualify for one of these plans. And then answer the question, of course, can you qualify for one of these? Maybe your health isn't the greatest and you're wondering if it's even possible. Then we're going to talk about simplified and non-med $75,000 whole life insurance plans, as well as fully underwritten. We'll explain the difference there in a little bit. Then we're going to talk about the best rates in insurance companies for $75,000 in whole life insurance. So if you're looking to see what prices run, make sure you stick around. We're going to look at different options and kind of do some comparisons. And then if you see the price and you're sticker shock and you're wondering, oh, I can't afford that much, no worries. I'm going to show you some step downs and alternatives you can take to get some kind of coverage on the books. I think something's important. It's better than nothing. And there's different ways to get started, and then talk about the next steps. So my name is David Duford, founder and owner of BuyLifeInsuranceForBurial.com, where I help people across the country find affordable whole life insurance. I've been a licensed life insurance agent since 2011. I've helped over 3,000 families with their life insurance needs since I've gotten into the business. I'm also a published author. That's my book down there in the corner, The Official Guide to Buying Final Expense Life Insurance. I got a couple of books, so I kind of messed that one up. But I help people in that book to find a final expense plan, know what their options are based on their health, kind of like what I do in these videos. I'm also a life insurance agency owner. I work with agents across the country and help them and train them to become proficient agents in their own community, helping people face-to-face with life insurance. And last but not least, I'm married with 4 children, the 4th being on its way anytime soon. What exactly is a whole life insurance policy? So, best way to describe it is as follows. First, the premiums are fixed. They never increase. So when you buy any kind of whole life insurance policy, whether it's $1,000 or $1 million or whatever the premium is, the premiums are designed to be the same forever. They don't go up. So as long as you pay the premiums, it stays the same. Nice thing about that is peace of mind. It's predictable. You know what to expect. You don't ever have a circumstance where the premiums magically increase in price and you don't know why or how to cover it. You don't want to be in that position, especially as you get older. So the whole life insurance are great because they define the period of time, and the premiums, you know what to expect. The coverage never cancels due to age or health. So whole life is another term we use for whole life insurance is permanent life insurance. Permanent life insurance is great because it's permanent. It doesn't cancel like term insurance. A lot of people hate term insurance once they figure out what it is. It terminates. You could outlive it. You could pay all this money and not get any benefit out of it. Whereas whole life insurance doesn't. As long as you pay the premiums as prescribed in the plan, then you've got the coverage. It's permanently there. And typically, in most circumstances, it's first day full coverage, especially if you're getting this amount of coverage. Most people who are going to be in positions where it will be first day full coverage, but it's going to depend on your health. We'll go over that in a little while. Of course, can't tell you for sure if you qualify. It's always based on the unique individual's health circumstances. So you may be wondering, okay, under what circumstances do people buy a whole life insurance policy? I think the number one reason is just peace of mind. They want to know something is going to be there when they pass away, and they want to make sure that something is. So a whole life policy does that. There's other options out there for whole life insurance. Maybe you don't want to pay what we call a single pay premium where you pay it forever. You could get what's called a paid up plan. That's where you pay on it for a predetermined period of time, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, whatever the circumstances, or maybe you pay a one lump sum payment. I talked to a person the other day that just wanted to pay a lump sum down, and in exchange they get a multiplier of that in the death benefit. So it immediately turns into a much larger amount of payable upon passing away. So whole life plans can do that as well. So what exactly does a $75,000 whole life insurance policy do? So again, let's build on the reasons why somebody would buy $75,000 in whole life insurance. So the first reason is funeral expenses. They want to have a predetermined plan set aside to pay for burial expenses or cremation or whatever it is. So a whole life insurance policy, once you walk out, our policy walks in, and a part of that can be used definitely to cover those funeral expenses. Also cremation expenses. And then a big one is income replacement. So what is this? So if you die and your spouse has to live, but you are the breadwinner, it's going to be a lot harder to do that, right? Because you're not making money anymore. Well, a whole life plan can provide, especially a $75,000 plan, can provide a lot of income for a long time. Many times these size amounts of coverage are used more with people who are closer to retirement or who are retired and they're looking for a predetermined amount to pay off upon death. And whole life insurance is great for this because it never goes away. You don't have to worry about outliving it. And you can rest assured knowing that at any point, as long as the premiums are paid, that $75,000 will be left to your surviving spouse. It can be a gift of love. Maybe you want to give money behind to a child or a grandchild. You want to help them start in college or help them get off on their life on the right foot. $75,000 does go a long way still and can be very beneficial in that regards. Perhaps you want a mortgage payment protection plan. If your mortgage is low enough and $75,000 paid out can pay the mortgage off. If it's not, it can give your surviving spouse enough time to pay the mortgage payment with this lump sum payment. So that way they can get situated, perhaps downsize, but have the time necessary to do that instead of putting the house under a fire sale circumstance where you got to settle a lot more because she couldn't afford the mortgage. Also, loan pay downs related to mortgages. Maybe you've got debts you'd like to pay off and you want a plan that specifically does it. But here's the thing. People buy whole life insurance no matter the amount of coverage because there's permanent problems that need permanent solutions. Whole life insurance, you never worry about cancellation. So if you know a problem will happen or feel pretty strongly it will when you die, whole life insurance is great for covering those problems. So should you get an exam or should you pass on an exam? Let's talk about that. So when qualifying for a $75,000 whole life insurance plan, examinations are sometimes required, but not always. It just depends on your health. It depends on the company we're looking at. An examination includes a urinalysis, blood drawing, a physical, normal stuff you would get at a physical, really. Now, some carriers just really only require a signature for approval. They may just look at your medical records. Sometimes they'll require a phone interview as well. This is what we call simplified issue. And it may be more appropriate. It depends on your circumstances and the underwriting profile. Now, a good reason to take an exam, if it is an option, is that it will get you a lower price if you're healthy enough. I only recommend it when I talk to somebody who's in perfect shape. By passing an exam, by passing up on an exam, you end up paying a higher price because the insurance company knows less about your up-to-date relative information. So many circumstances that's true, not always. But if it's good to take an exam if you're very healthy. And if you're unsure, then ask me and I'll tell you if it's worth the time, in my opinion. Why not to take the exam? Maybe your health isn't very good. Maybe you've had health problems. Maybe you're not in perfect shape. If that's the case, yeah, I would avoid it. There's a lot of insurance companies have better designed the products with more price competition in a way to not require an examination. So in some circumstances, it really is optional. It won't give you that much of a price differential. So it just depends again. It just depends on your health circumstances. So can you qualify for $75,000 in whole life insurance? In most cases, yeah. There's going to be a will. If there's a will, there's a way. And there's really two types of whole life insurance programs. You've got your first day full coverage and your return of premium coverage. First day full coverage means you're covered from natural and accidental death from the effective date for the full $75,000 plan. This is the ideal way to get coverage. Return of premium coverage usually means you typically wait 2 full years before full coverage on natural death. So you may be thinking, well, that just means I don't have coverage for 2 years, and that would be the circumstance. Maybe asking, why would I want to wait 2 years? Well, the only reason you would is if your health isn't very good. If you've had recent cardiac problems, cancer problems, lung disease, and other ailments, this may be the only pathway to go down to get anything at all. but it's something that I don't recommend out the box. You want to only try to get those plans, which are what we call guaranteed acceptance or guaranteed issue life insurance, only when you've tried the other options, or if an insurance agent has called up and asked underwriting and this is the only options. Most people we deal with, again, it depends, of course, will qualify for first day full coverage. So let's talk about simplified issue and non-med $75,000 whole life insurance. So this is what we refer to when a examination is not required. So whenever you see a simplified issue non-med, that means there's no fully underwritten. Now, in these circumstances, when you get these kind of plans with a $75,000 whole life, let me describe to you what to expect. They'll request medical records and prescription records, and they use that information to determine insurability. What's nice about this is that if you've had a little bit of health issues, you want to go this route instead of going down the route of getting a fully underwritten exam, because sometimes that stuff rates you up even higher and makes it more difficult and takes more time. Case study where this would be the case, I had a gentleman who got more than $75,000 in whole life insurance, and he had a history of many strokes. He was on Plavix, and because of that, and he was 85 too, did I mention that? He got in a situation where it wasn't sensible to do a fully underwritten plan in his circumstance. So we did simplified issue. He was approved at their preferred rates, and he was very happy. Also, fast issue. So when you get a simplified or non-med plan, sometimes you get approved immediately. It may take a couple days, but many times you get the policy within the next couple of weeks. Drawbacks with this is if you're really healthy, and again, if you're not sure what healthy means, I'll tell you based on what your individual circumstances are. You'll pay more if you're healthy. I'm healthy. If I go buy life insurance, I want an exam. I don't take medications. I have a good height, weight. I haven't had any ailments in my lifetime that have been super serious. So I want to get an exam, so that's going to give me a better price. So fully underwritten plans, again, when you buy a $75,000 whole life insurance plans, it means you're going to have an exam where you do blood, urinalysis, and a physical. Sometimes it's a portion of that, not all of it. Very sensible if you're in good shape. I already described that. It's going to give you a much better premium in some circumstances. I've seen differences in prices. In fact, I looked at how much I'm paying for my life insurance relative to a non-med, non-exam circumstance, and the price difference was just incredible. It was literally 2 or 3 times as much to get a non-exam policy than it would be to just take the exam the one time, even though it's a little weird with needles and stuff. But to pay a price that's a third of what I would pay if I was non-med. So that's why I'm big on getting exams if you're in tip-top shape and you're getting a lot of coverage especially. If you're getting smaller coverage, it's probably going to be optional. So again, if you're worried about this, $75,000, it's just going to depend on your age and your health. The younger you are, it may make a little more sense. Maybe when you're older too, but that's if you're only healthy. So circumstances just depend. Drawbacks with this, if you do fully underwritten, it can take weeks or months to get a decision. And sometimes, an exam where they draw blood and urinalysis, they'll do a profile on it. They may show a health issue you didn't have. Or they may exacerbate a health issue that you know you have and decide to affect your insurability. Maybe they rate it up 2 or 3 times as much as it was proposed. Maybe you end up in a position where you're not even accepted. This happens a lot with these fully underwritten types of plans. So there is a rate up potential. So let me show you some rates on $75,000 in whole life insurance so you can figure out what to expect. So I'm going to take off my screen and show you some quotes. So just hang tight for just 1 second. So very quickly, what we're looking here on the screen is just a quick selection of companies that will do $75,000 on a simplified issue basis, and sometimes they'll do an examination as well. So Pekin Life, for example, in Boston Mutual and Phoenix, these are fully underwritten. Some of them are simplified issue. The higher the price usually means it's simplified issue. This is a male 50-year-old for $75,000 in coverage. If we look at a female at 50 years old, $75,000 in coverage, we're going to be looking at price ranges kind of in this range. So one thing I'll make clear here is this isn't a detailed investigation of pricing. You may be younger than 50, you may be older than 50. The point is, I just wanted to show you what you're looking at a mid-level price range for a whole life insurance plan for fully underwritten simplified issue. Again, your age and health are going to affect these prices. I want to show prices, but it's hard for agents sometimes to show prices because we all know ultimately Sometimes what you see isn't what you get because we don't know what you are and where you are in your health. So I don't want to convey something that may not be the case that you'll get it. But I just want to give you an idea of what to expect. Just a starting point, a touchstone. Ultimately, to figure out what you would qualify for, you got to talk to me personally. And you can call me at 888-626-0439. Definitely help. Definitely willing and would be happy to help you out. So let's say you've looked at those prices. Maybe you're thinking, well, geez, I'm 70, and if I want $75,000 in plan coverage, man, that's going to be double or triple the price. Maybe just whatever you think. You're just worried about the budget. Maybe ultimately you're not for sure, but the starting point doesn't necessarily thrill you either based on what you saw. So look, if this is too expensive, here are some other thoughts I'd like to share with you. We got the old saying in the insurance business, how do you eat the elephant? It's one bite at a time. Okay, so if you can't get 75 grand, maybe start with something less. So here's some options you can do. So maybe instead of $75,000 in whole life insurance, you get what's called a guaranteed universal life plan. This acts very similar to whole life insurance. The rates never go up as long as you pay the premium as recommended. The coverage never goes down, and it's full coverage if you qualify. You got to be in pretty good shape. But it acts the same as whole life insurance in the sense it maximizes your death benefit for the least premium. So that's a way to lower your premiums. In many cases, it's about 50% less than the premium you'll see for a whole life insurance plan. So a lot of people opt to go that direction. And I like writing them because they accomplish those goals. You can also get a term life policy. So maybe instead of getting $75,000 in whole life, you get a term life insurance plan for 15, 20, 30 years, whatever the length of time is and what your budget is, and make sure that there is a permanent life insurance conversion option. So what that means is that a lot of term insurance will, over the period of the time up to an end date, usually it's with some plans at 65, some at 70, sometimes it's plans a couple of years before it cancels. Got to be aware of that, and that's something an agent can help you with, is that you can take a portion of that term insurance or all of it and then morph it or convert it into a permanent whole life insurance plan. So it's a way to get coverage on the books now at a cheaper price, but have the option to take that and turn that into a permanent plan later on in life as you get older. Or you could just start with something smaller, maybe 10, 15, 25, or 50,000 in coverage. Look, you can start with a lot less. A lot of people I do business with, they start with something and then they build up to something even bigger. Example, the particular man I talked to, he started at 84 years old. He started with $25,000 in coverage, and then over the course of the next year and a half, I had him at $125,000 in coverage. It was just something he was comfortable with. He had some debts to pay off. That's fine. That's how a lot of people do it. And you can definitely piecemeal multiple companies, multiple policies. There's no rules against that. Bottom line, something's better than nothing. That's how I operate my business. The last thing I want anybody to do is go without knowing they need it. Start with something. Get something on the books. And budget is important. That's why you should start with something. So how do you qualify for a $75,000 whole life insurance plan? It's very easy. Find an agent you like, someone you can trust. Hopefully, that's me. Here's how it would work. If you and I work together, we figure out what your goals are. I draw up a quote for you, assuming you accept it. In most circumstances, all we have to do is a phone interview, or I just submit the application electronically. Again, exams usually aren't necessary, and certainly a visit for me is not. We do everything electronically over the phone, very simple nowadays. And then you get coverage after several days or weeks, very simple. You usually don't have to wait longer. If you do a fully underwritten, you would. And then you get your policy shortly thereafter, and then boom, that's it. Very simple. So let's say you like the idea of qualifying for life insurance. What's the next step? Go to Buy Life Insurance for Burial. Request a free quote. You can click the contact box at the top or the chat box below. Send me a message of what you're looking for and a good time I can reach you. Then you can call me at 888-626-0439. Otherwise, if you just don't want to do the email thing, just call me, speak to me live. And I do hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a comment, thumbs it up, make sure you subscribe, and check out my other content as well. I do a lot of videos and this kind of thing. So my name is David Duford. Buy Life Insurance for Burial. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.